This is Writers Not Writing, the show where you can get to know your favorite writers and soon-to-be favorite writers by listening to them confess to the ways they procrastinate. Thanks for procrastinating with us. I'm Benjamin Gorman, and the quiet guy behind the glass there is Doug the producer. I write novels and collections of poetry and stuff. Doug tries his best to make me sound better. And each week we have a secret word to listen for. If you catch it, you earn the right to take an extra break at the time of your choosing from whatever is stressing you out. From NotAPipePublishing, welcome to Writers Not Writing.
If I take my time.
Hail and well met, readers and reviewers. We're just going to do a short show today because we just finished a big accomplishment today. So I am here with Claudine Griggs and Karen Eisenbrey, and Karen really was the point person and took this over this year. So Karen, will you tell everybody about our day and what we did today?
Okay. Well, our day was that we formed a little team, and one of our members wasn't able to be here. So there were actually 4 people signed up. But as a team, we dedicated ourselves to writing beginning at sunrise, 7:30 this morning, till sunset at 4:30. And we were doing this to raise funds for the Alzheimer's Association. They have a big fundraiser in June called The Longest Day, where people do an activity from sunrise to sunset on the summer solstice, which is a real marathon. Yeah. We like to do a dress rehearsal on the winter solstice, which is easy by comparison, but still a long day of writing, and raise funds by telling people about what we're doing and what it's for.
And for folks out there considering joining in on it, we write about, we're not all writing the same thing. This is just writers who are working on our own projects. And so, in many cases, we would be writing anyway, but this is a longer time than most writers commit to writing from dawn till dusk. And we get a lot accomplished, and we raise money for the Alzheimer's Association. So, Claudine, what were you working on today?
Working on a new novel, which is kind of a post-World War III book, and the opening line is, "I learned today that you can't prepare for the end of the world." And she's off on a hiking trip, and she's a prepper, and has all this stuff back home, but she's off on a hiking trip in southern Utah, and of course that's when it happens. So now she's out in this wilderness and meeting different people along the way. So I'm not sure where it's going. Usually I like to start a book with some thought of where it's going to end, but this one, that starting point for me is you can't really prepare, and you take it as it comes, and hopefully you'll be alive the next day and the next and the next. And she's met some interesting people along the way, some who have tried to kill her and some who've tried to help her, but she's forming a new family. And I'm over 30 thanks to this day. I'm now at 32,000 words. And it feels good. It's definitely 1/3 of a novel. My initial goal was 100,000 words, but if I end up between 80 and 100,000, I'm happy with that.
Well, it sounds like the perfect story to write as a person who is often a planner, to write this one as a pantser, to just go, hey, she's on a journey, so I'm on a journey.
It's a little different, and I'm actually surprised because I do like to know where I'm going to end up, but I don't know with this one. And characters often surprise me when I'm writing, which is also kind of fun. And as you know, I like tough women, and she's ex-military, and she's out there, and she's run into some other folks. But I do like strong women characters who are also decent people. They care about the world.
Yeah. Karen, how about you? What were you working on today? And how'd you do?
Well, how I did was I ended up with a total of 4,037 words on four different projects. So, first thing out of the gate, I wrote a blog post, 250 words. Yeah. Get that out of the way. my main project today was to add a couple of chapters to the draft of Truth, Justice, Rock and Roll, which is going to be the third Saint Rage book, which I think I started it last year at this event, and I worked on it again in the summer event. And I don't work on it any other time because I've got so many other projects. But I added, almost 3,000 words.
Yeah.
I think I wrote 2 new chapters and then also went back to some old chapters and added some new material that I'd thought of in the meantime. So that was fun. And then I'm also working on Promise Stones and Granny's Bones, which is the 3rd book of my upcoming 5-book fantasy series. And it's the one that needs the most work. So I'm kind of going through and responding to beta reader comments and adding material. And I got through all of the comments. So I'm down to the end of the book again. So it's time to go back and read what I added. But I added almost 900 words to that. And then I wrote a dumb song.
Counts.
The other night, my brother and I came up with basically the chorus of a really dumb Saint Rage Christmas song.
That's great.
So I wrote the rest of that. It's called Fancy Finger Food Potluck.
Nice. Oh, that's great.
So
Well,
I have to ask Ben, the master here, what did you do today?
I didn't get word count this time because I'm editing. So I'm working on book 3 of the Convention of Fiends series. And I made it through, let's see, I was just telling Karen, I think it's 225 pages of the edits there. But that wasn't the biggest triumph of the day. The biggest triumph was I had this terrible plot hole that I had discovered in the edits where I had this chapter where this significant character kind of goes off to find out that the people that he is working for approve of this mission he's going on, but then the reader learns that his employers themselves have been infiltrated, and then I just never came back to it. It was just this like, so what? And so I figured out a way to tie that in. So now that is relevant, and I don't need to write, a huge change to the ending, but I don't have this just gaping plot hole that was like, what was that for? Why did that even happen? So that was a success. But the thing that was most satisfying, I have this chapter where a couple of my characters are. I really like writing strong female characters as well, but the parts that I enjoy the most are kind of the tender moments between them, where we've seen them in battle, we've seen what they can do, they're incredibly tough, and then they have these kind of moments where you go, oh, and it's just the relationship between these 2 women, they're a couple, and it's this really tender moment. And I was like, it's one of those nice moments when you're editing where you go, oh, that was nice. I did a good thing. I wrote that chapter well. That was kind of fun for me to read as a reader, far enough away from it that I could enjoy it as a reader. And I was like, that turned out really well. That was a heartwarming moment. So that felt like a big success.
That's a nice moment when you discover your Rambo characters are still pretty human after all. That's nice.
Yes, it was really great. So so it was a successful day. Karen, you already talked a little bit about this, but we start with the shortest day and then we work up to the longest day. And how does that process work for folks who still want to jump in?
If they want to join the team,
yeah,
they are absolutely welcome to join the team at any time, but certainly before our big event in June, we would welcome more members.
Yeah, and it's super simple. I mean, you go on the website, you add your name, click. You can donate I think it's $20 and they send you a t-shirt, but you don't have to do anything. Yes, but you don't have to donate anything. But then you write with us. Karen will send you an email saying, here's where the Zoom room will be, and we just write together. And then one of the things I like the best about this is we don't handle money. So many of these charitable events, you end up going, hey, can you give me this cash and whatever. We don't have to do any of that. There's, you just say, here's a link to my contribution page, and the Alzheimer's Association handles all of the cash. And so it all, they give us a little ticker that says, yes, people donated in your name, which is nice for our egos. But the important thing to me is, but I didn't touch that money. I don't want to have anything to do with managing the money. It all goes directly to the Alzheimer's Association. And I also really like what it goes to. They not only are they giving money for research, but research dollars in the United States tend to be, so much of the best research funding is done through universities, it's done through government contracts, that kind of thing. And so groups that give money exclusively to research, you don't know that you're necessarily going to get anything. That's an investment that may turn out to result in something, but I've read that some of these funds like giving research into breast cancer have actually skewed the research where maybe what we would need to do best to research cancer isn't study this one cancer that is the sexiest cancer. Maybe we should be studying other cancers, and kind of funneling the money has skewed things when the NFL players are all wearing pink. And so the Alzheimer's Association not only gives money for research, but they also give money for kind of care and support for families who are dealing with Alzheimer's, creating support groups, creating materials to help folks. And I think that's incredibly valuable for people, because if you've known anybody with Alzheimer's and dementia, it is not just a disease for the individual, it is a disease for the family. And I really like that the Alzheimer's Association takes that side of it seriously and isn't just putting money into research.
There is a downside. It's not really a downside, but you will get emails from the Alzheimer's Association in the future saying, hey, contribute again. And actually, for me, that's nice, because, again, I had mentioned my mother died from dementia, and it's heartbreaking, as you say. I never knew if she would recognize me when I talked to her in those last few years. Very painful. But also this event, the writing. As a writer, I have to say, I think this is my third one that I was able to participate in. And it does boost my productivity for a day, not only just the moment that I'm here, the time that I'm here, but those couple of days thinking, what am I going to work on? Am I going to be productive? Will I live up to whatever expectations the other people might have? And I am competitive, and I did not make as many words as Karen had today, but I feel very good about the work I did. And when I go back through it someday, I hope that I will still be pleased with it. So these events, to me, are important for a variety of reasons, not just the charity, but for writers who are writing. And it does get me going a lot. It really boosts my energy level.
Yeah, I find that the times when I have been doing the writing, I don't know if you found this too, Karen, I will have this day that's incredibly productive, and then I'll kind of do this deceptive math where I'll go, if I just did this every day, which is not the way anything works. Like, there's no way you could write from dawn till dusk every day.
I've never had that thought, because by the end of it, I'm just like, I am dead. I probably
even at the end of it, like, I feel really charged up. Like, yay, I've accomplished this thing, and I've done this, and I'll think I could do this every day. No way. There's no way.
No. I would collapse if I did this more than a couple days.
Yeah, but you're right. I do, it does make me more productive in the run up, and even afterwards. Like, you kind of get reinvigorated about the project itself too. So, which is good, because Karen, I'm really looking forward to that book 3 of that series.
If I ever finish it, what is it? It's at a total of it's still only about 17,000 words. But
with a YA, you're a quarter of the way. That's about
I'm a quarter of the way.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, I think everything I've written is like subplots.
Mm-hmm.
There's very little of the main plot actually in anything that I've written yet. But I've built up this whole sort of framework of, okay, this is everything that's going on around whatever the main plot turns out to be.
Turns out to be.
So I've got all this sort of support material, all the relationship stuff and the funny business and the family stuff and all of the parts of books that I like the best.
Right.
So all I have to do is insert plot
Right.
at some point.
Well,
so maybe that's what will happen in June.
and with YA readers, with teenage living, like it is the subplots that are what is most important. Like, for my students, for my kids, like it is the friends relationship is the most important thing going on in their lives, right? It's not necessarily am I turning in my homework and graduating and going on to this job and kind of the main plot of the game of life. It's who's dating who and who's in an argument with her mom and that and so as a reader I enjoy that stuff. Like it's fun drama.
Yeah. So I am looking forward to someday being free to devote myself to this book, get these other ones off my plate and move on to something else. But
well, and Claudine, it sounds like you're about a third of the way through the post-apocalyptic one. And I am imagining writing post-apocalyptic in our modern United States is a confluence of different emotional
It wasn't
impulses.
really a far stretch to get to that point in the novel, because I do worry. There are strange people in the world who I think are possibly crazy enough to launch that apocalyptic event. I hope not. I really, really hope not. And again, starting a new novel. I mean, Karen, you were talking about your progress, and I was thinking, my first day I did 700 words on a book that I wanted to be 100,000. And I was thinking, why do I even bother? Because 700 words is nothing. But then I think, well, in 100 days, I'm going to have 70,000 if I can do that.
mm-hmm.
And today was like almost 2,000 new words. And so again, you start out and you plod through, and I think of the bird by bird mm-hmm. Attitude of you just do one at a time and you keep going. And this one is different because I didn't have it plotted out to somewhere. And I remember, I think it was Isaac Asimov who said he knows where he wants to start and he knows where he wants to end and he fills in the rest. Well, I don't know where I'm going to end. Yeah. I got started and we'll see. But it is kind of an adventure this time, rather than, especially compared to academic writing and research. Which is one of the reasons I like fiction these days, because I am surprised myself
mm-hmm.
With what the characters do, the things I come up with, situations I never dreamed were going to happen in the book somehow got to that point. So it is. But I'm very pleased to be 32,000 words now.
Oh, yeah.
And check with me in about 2 months and see if I have that first full draft.
Oh wow, 2 months. That's that would be fast.
I get writing and it's hard to stop sometimes. And again, if I shoot for 1,000 words a day, and those add up pretty quick, and sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. And then there's housekeeping. Sometimes you have to do research. If I want to know how far the radiation will go from this kind of weapon and how long it takes to dissipate enough you can actually come out of your cave, or whatever it is, I don't know. And those things do take time as well, but I want it to be at least plausible when I'm doing research, and especially when I'm dealing with characters who know a lot more than I do about their situation.
Well, I found some of my research today, and Karen, you've probably found this so you're working on a quintilogy that precedes a trilogy you've already written. I found that a lot of my time was going back through the others, going, what was that character's nickname? What was that character? What color hair did I say that character had? And so I'm researching within my own text. I found that I had a character who I never gave a last name in the previous book ever. And then in this next book, I believed that I'd never given him a last name, but there was a time when I needed to reference his last name. So I started plugging it in and then found out that later in the text, oh no, I did come up with a last name for him. So then I had to go back and make it so that he only has one last name and not two.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, in your, this eight novel, epic, I'll bet you're doing a lot of double checking for
There
consistency.
has been a ton of that. And I'm really glad that years ago I started keeping a spreadsheet of all the characters in the series and what book they show up in, how old they are in that book,
Mm,
who else they're related to,
yeah.
like who their parents are or who their kids are or who their partner is, and the role that they play.
Yeah,
Mm.
especially with a book that takes that many. I mean, it's over the course of two generations, really
Yeah,
three generations of
and it's like
storytelling.
every time I name a character, it's like, okay, I better go put them in the chart before I forget what their name is. And that has worked out well because I had cut a named character. She was still referenced, but without the name because I'd written a couple of pages with her and it's like, this does not need to be here. She never shows up again. This is just a transitional scene. So I'd cut all of that and just condensed it into somebody showed up who could take the place of somebody else, and so then he could move on.
Yes, for
My
readers out
beta
there who
readers pointed out that if you don't name this character, the readers are going to think that it's this other character who's mentioned in the other half of the story. And if you don't want them to think that, you better give her a name. And I'm like, dang it.
I,
Okay.
but
Did
I
I give her a
understand the
name? And I
impulse.
went back and I found it and I did have it. And so
Yes.
it's like, okay, I know what I called her. I don't have to come up with something new. And I think I gave her a couple lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
Just
But
to,
I do understand the impulse to not give her a name because once you give a character a name, you're saying to the reader, this character is somewhat important. I had a paragraph I came across today where I was going, I'm using just the pronoun she too many times. It would be easier if this character had a name, but she's going to die in a paragraph. She just showed up and she's going to die. She's not important. And yet, just for the sake, so there is that tension. As soon
mm-hmm.
as you give them a name, you're saying, "Hey, reader, you better spend a little bit of your mental energy to remember this name," and then you eliminate them right away. And it's like now I'm, George R. R. Martin. Like,
The other thing that happens to me is that I realize, oh, geez, this character is in the scene enough that they need a name.
yeah,
And then as soon as I give them a name, they start to become a character.
they grow.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to give these people another scene. There's this one family that basically had a walk-on scene, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna bring them back later, just because they're cute. And now they all have names. I might as well use them.
Yes, for folks who've not read this series, the first trilogy that came out tells the story of the daughter, and then the quintilogy is the story of her parents, and working its way up sequentially to that story of the daughter. But the role of those parents is incredibly important in the lives of the parents and the granddaughter. So the kind of lore is the family history.
Yeah,
So keeping
I
all
did
those
not
characters straight is
know
really important.
when I started this thing, I had no idea I was writing a sprawling family saga.
Yes,
I thought I was writing a standalone fantasy novel.
about this young woman.
This
And
what?
then,
No, about this man, about
oh
this
yeah,
boy.
yeah, you started with him.
Yeah, I started with him. I thought I'm going to write this one book, and people would say, "Oh, you're going to write a sequel?" Oh, ha ha ha! No, ha ha ha!
Yeah,
Jokes on me.
yeah,
And there's going to be another trilogy later
yeah.
that takes place after
After
about
Lascelles.
Lascelles' brother. Yeah,
Oh, okay. So we've
and
got, yeah.
it's going to be fun. I can't wait to write it. I've drafted the first book, and I've decided, yeah, this will be teen comedy tropes in a high fantasy setting.
Yes. Oh, that's fun.
And the of course the first one I thought this is going to be a lighthearted romp, a road trip, and of course it turns out to be all about anxiety and trauma and dread, but
Yeah.
it's still a lighthearted romp.
Yes.
And then the second one will be fake dating.
Oh, like catfishing?
No, like like the characters are pretending to be in a relationship in order to get the parents off their back. And that's just going to be a side plot that the main character gets involved in, like he's helping his friend. And then the third one is going to be a Save the Rec Center kind of plot.
Yes, but in a fantasy world.
But
Save
in a
the
fantasy
Fantasy Rec
setting.
Center.
Yep.
Oh, that is great. Well, I have you both have had a very long day writing since dawn today, but thank you for doing this. And to all the folks out there, do you have any advice for our listeners going into their week? We always like to end with that.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Yes. Have a
I
Merry
hate
Christmas.
giving advice. I hate giving advice because sometimes I feel like I'm not qualified to give anyone advice. I barely hold up at my end here. But I just think if you want to be a writer, read a lot and write a little bit every day.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will lead you somewhere, because I find the writing is most satisfying to me. I mean, it's lovely to be published. It's lovely to get a royalty check, but it's mostly satisfying.
Yeah. Well, I'll split the middle between those and say I know that the Christmas season can be stressful for people. It can be trying, and it can also be really kind of heartwarming and fulfilling for folks to be with family. But even that can be stressful. And writing can be therapeutic and very satisfying as well. So in both your family life and your writing life, take care of yourself this next week. Be gentle with yourself, be gracious with yourself, and enjoy this holiday season. Have a good week, everybody.
Peace to everyone, please.
Special announcement time. NotAPipe Publishing has always been committed to helping authors and readers find one another. Well, the show, which is all about helping readers get to know writers, just hit a milestone: 10,000 views on YouTube. So to celebrate, instead of charging authors to advertise their books on the show, I'm going to run your ads for free throughout 2024. If you want to make a 30 to 60 second video about your book, let folks know what it's about and where to find it, and don't forget your name and the title. I'll run one or two of those in our ad spot each week. Just send an MP4 file to the NotAPipe email address in the show notes. Let's fix up some readers and authors into reader relationships. 2024. More readers, more writers, more books.
You deserve a vacation.
How about a trip to a dude ranch on a colony planet?
Or a journey to a universe where wizards call lightning down from the sky and calm rumbling volcanoes?
Or a holiday tour of the major cities of Europe with vampires and werewolves and witches as guides.
Or maybe just a nice hot sudsy bath with a book of poetry that will make you cry and sigh and laugh.
We've got you covered.
A paperback will appear on your doorstep each month to whisk you away, and you'll return refreshed, enlightened, and ready to make the world we share a brighter place for everyone.
Or if you prefer, you can sign up for a quarterly subscription and get 4 YA titles, 4 adult titles, or 4 collections of poetry per year.
Plus, you'll get book club questions from the author before you start the book and an interview with the author afterwards.
So, if you are in a book group or want to start one, this is everything you need in a kit. Will we occasionally throw in some extra surprises just to say thank you to our members? Of course.
You can also give someone their very own membership with all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto.
So, find a reward level that's right for you.
And share this with your friends.
Join the Indulge Your Shelf Book Club today. Your bookshelves deserve a little pampering.
Hi, I'm children's author Sarah Geddes. I'd love for you to check out my book, Henry the Sneezing Dragon. It's about a clumsy dragon in search of friendship. My book, To the Moon, a Jacob and Trevor adventure, will be released September 2024, a story about 2 little boys who use fairy dust to travel to the moon. And in fall 2024, The Water Bear Astronaut, about a tardigrade who travels to space, will also be coming out. All books will be available on Amazon.